Have you ever told your friends about a crush you have but are too shy to do anything about? Have you ever left a bad relationship and had your friends push you to get back and fix it? These situations are filled with well-meaning friends and loved ones. An argument can also be made for the time in which they occur. That being acknowledged, well-meaning folk don't always get it right, even if their name is Cartwright. For us, the audience, that can provide an hour of entertainment. For someone who overthinks about these things for a living, that can provide material for the video you're listening to right now. Let's celebrate Love Month this year by going over some of the times when our boys played matchmaker. Grab a heart-shaped box of chocolate and let's get started. In The Wooing of Abigail Jones, the focus for those of us who love those good old Cartwright hijinks is when Hoss and Joe get Adam involved as they try to play matchmaker for their hired hand, Hank Myers, who is in love with schoolteacher Abigail Jones, who herself has a crush on Adam. Who can blame her, am I right? The dynamic of the two younger brothers getting Adam involved in their schemes is, in my opinion, the best part of the whole thing. For the purposes of this video, let's have a look at what they were setting out to accomplish in the first place. Hank Myers has a nasty habit of wrecking the bunkhouse and knocking out the other hands when he's upset. I'll touch on this more when I make a video on the episode as a whole, but since that could take years from now, I'll point out now that I think Hank was played as having a mental disability that goes beyond social awkwardness. Whether they did that intentionally or not is unclear, but there it is. My problem isn't with that. My problem is with his way of expressing himself becoming violent, and Hoss and Joe knowing that. Knowing what they knew, they try to get him with Miss Jones to help him out as his friend, never thinking that it might end badly for her at some point. Yes, I know I've just rained seriousness all over one of the best comedy episodes in the series, but in my defense, again, it's the Cartwright boys, not Hank, that make it funny. Adam sings and lets Hank pretend it's him until Abigail catches on. Hoss and Joe leave Adam alone to deal with it when she does. And that, my friends, is where the comedy gold is struck. Abigail's crush on Adam is hilarious. Hank's crush on Abigail, only due to the way he tends to behave, is troublesome. If your friend has some bad ways of coping with anger, don't set them up with someone and then not tell them about that. In the episode A Woman in the House, Ben takes in a lady who is abused by her husband. The frustrating issue is that he's constantly trying to talk her into going back to the man, even when she insists that she wants out for good. Understandably so. He turns things around, but that's not my point in this video. I realize that marriage doesn't end so easily in this time period, but I hardly think Ben would have pushed the girl to go home if she'd been his daughter or sister. Now if we go backwards a little, we have in The Dark Gate an example of something like this being handled better, where Adam's best friend definitely has a mental illness, affecting his life and leading him to beat his wife rather badly when he's convinced that she's having an affair with Adam. When Adam finds out that Ross abuses Dell, he quickly gets her out of there and takes her to the Ponderosa. Afterward, he talks to as many professionals as he can in Virginia City to try and ascertain what's going on with his best friend. Sadly, though, Ross breaks into the Ponderosa house when no one but Dell is home, and it ends in tragedy for both. Dell, on several occasions, seemed to want to go home, and Adam kept her from it out of fear for her safety. This turned out to be with very good reason. Note that although Adam was Ross's friend, he cared about Dell's life enough to encourage her to stay away until he could get Ross some help. Though it does end badly, it isn't for lack of the right steps being taken on Adam's part. The next two don't count as a Cartwright fixing up someone, but rather getting into it when one of their own is in love with someone they know to be dangerous. I've seen some pretty strong opinions about Adam's interference in She Walks in Beauty, even from Abigail's. There are some who feel that he should never have gotten involved. In short, Adam knows of the reputation following a Miss Regan Miller, Hoss's new intended fiancée, and he goes to her in an effort to get her to either let Hoss go or at least be honest with him. Her method is to try to seduce Adam into keeping quiet, and Hoss sees all the wrong angles. This leads Adam to take a pretty serious pounding from Bigger Brother. In the end, Ben steps in, confronting Reagan just as Adam did, only she never tries to seduce him, actually seeming to take his advice. We'll revisit this when we talk about the episode, but I'm curious, for those of you who think Adam was in the wrong, do you also think that Ben was? As for my take, I think Adam thought it was more likely to work if Reagan just broke up with Hoss than if Adam tried to get Hoss to break it off. He's been down this road with Hoss before, you see. Speaking of which, the other one is also a Hoss episode where, again, Adam finds out some things about a woman Hoss is determined to marry. The courtship finds Hoss meeting and falling for the widow of an old friend of Ben's. Turns out she has a really bad gambling problem. He goes to Ben, and Ben tries to talk to Hoss, which, of course, doesn't work. Adam and Joe decide to let Hoss see it for himself, so Adam takes Helen into town on the guise of letting her win back the money she lost, while Joe brings Hoss in just at the right moment. Adam and Joe get a face bruise apiece for it, and Helen leaves with a random man in the saloon. So he knows the truth this time, but she broke it off, so we don't know exactly what he would have done. I think they did the right thing here in showing rather than telling him. It hurt, but saved Hoss more pain down the road. Back down the Ponderosa Trail a few seasons, Heritage of Anger has been helping out John Dundee, a man he feels responsible for sending to prison when it comes to light that the man might not have been guilty. He left behind a wife who has had to take care of herself and their ranch while he was gone. Understandably, she's nervous about being alone with him now after his time in prison, so she convinces Ben to stay on. Ben has reservations but does as he's asked. Eventually, he helps prove that John was innocent in the first place and even gets the chip off his shoulder. When he sees that the couple have worked things out, he slips away quietly without saying goodbye. He stayed when she asked him to and left when he knew it was safe. Maybe the younger Cartwright should take a lesson from Pa. Speaking of Pa, back to the beginning in Season 1, we have Magnificent Ada. The boys don't approve of Daddy dating an actress, especially when they find out that she has an abusive ex with legal weapons for hands prowling around. Adam and Joe both try various tactics to prove she's not a good candidate for stepmommy newest, but Joe's the only one who is spotted by Ada's ex and beaten up to near blindness for it. Do I think that Joe got beaten strictly because he was in Ada's room when John Reagan happened to be watching? Actually, no. I think he was the littlest target, and it was Ben that Reagan was jealous of. These people really do have a major bad luck issue with people named Reagan. I'll end this video with one that isn't strictly a Cartwright playing matchmaker, but one being played. In The Pressure Game, Laura Dayton's Aunt Lil comes to Virginia City with big ideas once she sees Adam hesitating to make things official with Laura. She coaches Laura to be more insufferable than she usually is, and makes Adam jealous with his own cousin Will, who ends up falling for Laura, and Laura for him. In the end, Adam proposes and starts building a house for the new happy family he wants to build. In the process, he falls and injures his back. Aunt Lil is gone by then, but the mess she started lingers on until the end. Ben calls her Cupid's henchman. Well, Cupid, I think you should fire your henchman. That's the list of episodes that stands out for me. If I missed any, let me know and I'll consider doing another one later on. There are a few I didn't add on purpose because I didn't feel they were quite qualified as Cartwright's playing matchmaker, but maybe you'll change my mind. Have a happy love month, and remember to use these as cautionary tales if you ever consider fixing anyone up this year.